What up, Panther Nation? It's your boy, the Professor, bringing you the C3 podcast every Tuesday night. Must be 10 o'clock because we're here. We're talking Panther football. Just want to remind everybody, or encourage everybody to keep it together, at least for the next hour. We'll be all right. We'll make it through. And if you need a little help in that process, you can always download the C3 podcast on iTunes. Check us out on Stitcher. Stream it while you're at the gym or whatever you do. Guys, fellas, I'm happy to be here. I'm sad as an individual. It's been a tough run for the Carolina Panthers. So introduce yourselves. I feel like I'm in an AA meeting. Hello, my name is Anthony. Hi, Anthony. What's up, guys? Joe, say hello.
Hello, my name is Joe Riolano, and I'm a Carolina Panther fan.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
This is my 20th year of being a Panther fan, and at no time in my life have I been more sad and downtrodden than what was on display on Sunday. I'm on Twitter at Joe Riolano. Please respect my hours of operation, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. And thank you.
Thanks, Joe. We're glad to have you here tonight. Glad to have you. Would anybody else like to share? No? Anybody else? Can anybody hear me?
Okay, I'll get a token tonight for sharing at the AA meeting. My name's Jason Opel. I'm with CarolinaProFootball.com, and we're another Panthers devoted podcast. And we hope you check us out under better circumstances. I don't know. Do we get something extra for showing up tonight on such a bad night, other than just a token? I mean, a gift certificate or something.
Well, you can actually get, I guess. I mean, it's like a free therapy session. That's what I would say. Is that I'm going to offer you some love and support, and I think you're going to come out of here a better person when it's all said and done.
Hey, we all definitely need to support each other at Panther Nation. I'm looking forward to it.
Gosh, we need it. Okay, so let me see. I feel like I'm at a drunk meeting right now because Aaron told me the audio is repeating, so you can just come out and say it. Does anybody else hear it, or is it just Aaron?
I do. It's like an echo, like in the background. Like after you say something, you can hear it again, just real quietly in the background.
Gosh, you gotta be kidding me.
Hey, I don't do drugs, but if I did, it would sound like this.
Exactly.
How about that? Let's see if that fixed it. I think I just fixed it. No?
I think so.
All right, nice. Is that better?
It is better.
Okay. All right, let's jump into this and talk about this. Good Lord, what a rocky start. It feels like we are at Lambeau.
That it does.
And what we're feeling here. Good Lord. What are you laughing about, Aaron?
The audio, man. I don't do drugs,
It's
but if I did,
messy,
it would be like this.
isn't it?
It's still doing it?
Yeah, man. It's going in a cycle.
Going in a cycle. I got you. And it wasn't doing it before when we started?
No, it was good before we started. We go live, All right. Yep, I think we're good now.
Get it together.
All right. It was kind of like the Panthers start up in Lambeau.
Well, I'm a little upset because what I think is that's going to screw all my damn sound effects up that I had rolling for tonight. All right, okay, let's talk about this. Carolina Panther fans, we're here tonight to talk about this. Is that, look, he's still freaking out, and I can't hear it. Joey, can you hear it?
No, I cannot.
Okay. All right, Joe. We can't even talk to Aaron. He is
No,
he is drunk. He is drunk.
That's what flying first class will do to you.
Yeah. All right. So let me just say this, guys. We're here tonight at our meeting because the Panthers got straight beat down on Sunday. It wasn't even a football game. It was a massacre. It really was. At this point, fellas, last year when we finished the season, we were second overall in defense. We were sixth in passing defense, and we were second in rushing. We allowed 15.1 points per game. This year, fellas, we are at 27 overall, 22nd passing, 26 rushing, 27.9 points per game. What is going wrong, Jason? Can you jump in there and bail Aaron out?
I don't know. It feels like the podcast's off to a rolling start here. So, we as far as a Panthers fan, it's like Leslie Nielsen, the airplane. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. So
Exactly.
I know. I mean, that's crazy. I can't hear Jack, and everybody's talking junk about me and just laughing and laughing.
No,
Tell
but
us, what's
to be fair to the Panthers, I think this is a situation where you're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. And this is one of those weeks where you're just worse than you really are, in my opinion. Things got with a team like Green Bay, you can't give them those second chances like the defense was. Giving those stupid early penalties. You back them up at a 3rd and long, and then you let them off the hook. Next thing you know, they're doing the band striking up, and they're doing the touchdown dance. So you just can't do that, and it just seemed like it snowballed from there. And obviously, at some point, you have an opportunity to stop that, but obviously, it just did not happen that way until it was way past the breaking point.
Aaron, did that make it worse? I'm just like clicking my settings now because I can't even look at Aaron.
I don't think he can. He knows what's going on. There's too much going on for him to be able to focus.
Is it still doing it, Joe?
He says there's like 3 conversations going on at the same time, so he can't focus on one.
Do you not hear it?
I don't.
I don't hear it either.
Okay. All right. Well, you should log out, Aaron, and jump back in. Why don't we do that? And then this. Joe, tell us what the hell is going on with the Carolina Panthers. Respond to Jason.
Well, I have to agree with you, Jason. I think it is one of those things where you're not, it's sort of an anomaly. You're not quite as bad as you played. The thing that I have the most trouble with is I noticed it back against the Steelers. It seems to me that at certain points in the game, guys are taking plays off. Now, I was listening to a Charlotte radio station, and the host was fielding questions from fans, and one of the fans said it looked like to him that the team wasn't playing hard, defense in particular, and he said, well, how can you say that? You're not out there on the field. What do you know? That's sort of the attitude that the host had. Well, right after that, I kid you not, but maybe an hour later, I saw an article on Bleacher Report about Thomas Davis saying guys are loafing. And I was like, that's so funny because that's how I felt way back at the Steelers game. Like, people aren't just playing hard. Yes, we're out. The Kraken's out. Yes, Frank Alexander suspended. Yes, we're banged up all over the place. But that is not an excuse to not try your hardest. And that's what I feel like. They aren't giving the same effort they gave last year. And that's where you don't see the swarming defense where you got 8 hats around the ball carrier. You know what I mean? You don't see that this year because the effort's not there. That's the first thing I look at and see. All right, Tony, we have lost your volume now for good. What do you think? What do you think of that idea, Jason?
I think when you go into a season, and yes, it is an excuse that hey, we don't have all the guys that we're supposed to have, but I think when you start getting a situation where you have a guy like Greg Hardy and defensive ends in the league, let's face it, they're the second highest paid position in the league, and your team is built to play a certain way, and you can no longer play that way. I think two things start working against you. Number one, obviously, some of the stuff that got masked before, some of the secondary and some of the deficiencies they have, which the front end was meant to mask that. Some of that stuff gets exposed, and everyone talks about Greg Hardy and the pass rush, etc. And that's all true. But one of the things I think he was really underrated in is his run defense, and a lot of those gaping holes you're starting to see on the ends where people out of position. I don't think you would see a lot of that if Hardy was playing. So he doesn't get a lot of credit for setting the edge, and he does that extremely effectively. So while yes, it is an excuse, I think it's also a reason as well. So if people are loafing, or if people are trying, I really think it's just a matter of people trying to do things that aren't their job because of all the things I just enumerated. People are trying to mow 1.5 lawns, and they're not mowing anything. So it's just not working out, and that's why you see all these people out of position, people not playing well, missed tackles, and I think that's really the genesis of it, to be honest with you, as far as on the defensive side of the ball, which is where that avalanche really started.
Mm-hmm. I really think that we miss Greg Hardy's run-stopping ability even more than we miss his passing, because if we were able to stop the run, that would force defenses to throw the ball more, and we in turn would be able to focus more specifically and solely on the pass rush. But because we're so terrible against the run, we have to play honest both ways. So his absence, I think really affects us more versus the run. I think, it isn't, I hate to use the word excuse, it's a fact that these guys being out do hurt us. And our secondary, I honestly thought at the beginning of the year that our secondary as a whole was better than last year's secondary. And I'm not sure of that anymore. I think I really wonder if the secondary we had last year was on this team, would they be exposed just as bad?
All right, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can.
You got you now, brother.
Fucker. Good Lord, I'm so fucking mad right now. I am so mad right now, fellas. I'm as mad as I was after that damn football game. So if you can hear me now, you're going to hear the anxiety of my voice of the dumpster fire of performance that we have seen for really the last 4 weeks. 3 weeks.
Hey, let's pull it together like we did after the second half of the Chicago game. Right?
Okay. So can you hear me? Can I
We're
say
good.
that? Can I be excited about being here? And this is what I got to say about what is going on with this Carolina Panthers team? Their defense sucks. And it's not just guys. This is not just people. I agree with everything every one of you have said. You have said that they've tried to do too much. Yes. They've sucked. Yes. They haven't been excited. Yes. But all of those things, fellas, is that it just comes down to it. They don't look good. Roman Harper looks like a burnt-ass Roman candle. Thomas Deku looks like he wants to tie your shoelaces together instead of tackle your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And Antoine Cason plays like he lives with Joey and he's trying to hang out with me on a Tuesday night in another damn state. So I don't think, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I jumped in there all fiery, all excited, but I was so mad about tonight's start to the show because I worked really hard earlier. And so, tell me this, and I'm going to go to Aaron because we haven't heard from Aaron other than the laughing fit.
That was brutal.
And that is the most I've ever seen somebody laugh since.
I can't wait to watch
Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this back tomorrow. Or maybe I don't want to.
No,
But
tell me, Hey, all right. How about this? Are you guys as mad about this as I am? Did you see this clip right here? Can you see my camera?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you see this dude in the sunglasses? He is to the right of the dude with the #1 Cam Newton jersey on.
To the far right, right? He's two people over.
He is close to Jordy. He's got dark sunglasses on,
Yeah.
and he's got a Carolina blue jersey on, and his ass has got his mouth wide open, and he is trying to touch Jordy Nelson because he is so excited to touch a NFL football player who is doing the Lambeau leap and beating our ass.
Now, is he the one that squirted the ketchup all over Randall Cobb?
Squirted. He didn't. Nah. Well, he better made up for it. Is this? And what I want to just say is this. I'll ask you, Aaron. Is it over?
Heck no, it ain't over. It ain't over. You know, I am the eternal optimist. I think I get bashed for that quite a bit. But man, we got a lot of troubles, a long way to go, a lot of issues. But no, it ain't over. I say if we don't win one out of these next 3 games, it's totally over. But we got a tough stretch, man. We've got Seattle, the Saints, and then Philly. We gotta win. We need to win 2 out of those 3 really to have a great shot. But what's saving us right now, man, is we suck, but so do the Saints, so do the Falcons, so do the Bucks. And to get into the big dance, we just got to win our division. And I tell you, our biggest weakness right now is communication and trust. We're going to get better as the year goes on. Mark my words.
Jason, do you feel that this can be fixed?
Oh, it definitely can be fixed, but I think Aaron was right on when he said this. What's that?
With a different team?
Again, like Aaron, I'm sort of the optimist, and this definitely can be fixed because you look at the personnel, and I think the personnel is there, and what you saw was worst case, and we are better than that. And communication is a big part of it, but I do think next week is going to be a big inflection point for the Panthers. So it's either going to be, and I'm not saying if we lose it's going to be the end of the world, but if it's another route like that, that's when you start to lose locker rooms potentially. But also on the other hand, if you win this game, as you know, we usually play Seattle really tough because we're basically mirror images of each other. Mm-hmm. If you win this game, what does that do for your locker room? What does that do for the trust that you're trying to develop between, the guys playing next to you, the undrafted free agent that's flanking Ryan Khalil? Really, it's all about trust and communication, and it seems like this year for this Panthers team more than ever, it's all about momentum. And obviously, we've lost some of that, and we're going to be up and down this year, I believe. So if we can get that momentum going again and start to develop that trust in between the players and everybody just starts doing what they're supposed to be doing and worry about their assignment, then things are going to get a whole lot better. And like I said, we still have a lot of divisional games left, and you talk about how down the NFC South is. We get to play the teams, most of those teams twice. So, that's a potential.
That's where it's going to be decided. Yep.
I understand all of that, but this is the third. If you guys saw the image I put up for the show tonight, dumpster fire, likes on it, because this is the one thing that makes me hesitant to game where we have just gotten blown the hell out. We've just gotten blasted. So, I mean,
fool me once. Shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I can't get fooled again, guys.
Fool me once.
I can't get fooled again, and I'm just worried that this team doesn't have the personnel. The secondary sucks. I mean, they're terrible. I mean, I don't know if we really have it. Is that defense is so porous. To me, I think this all starts with being able to stop the run, and we can't do that. And that is what has led to teams.
I got to tell you, the biggest surprise for me, Tony, this year has been I was expecting a big leap forward for both Star and KK. And KK has shown flashes on the pass rush, but man, they are not doing their jobs in the middle like I thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been that combined with losing the Kraken and losing Mitchell in the back end. Man, we're hurting. We're hurting bad. But yeah, I think we can get it back. I'm a fool for love, man. I'll fall all over again. I'll be ready come Sunday.
Joey, first, I hope you could hear my audio clip, so pull your ear, yes, if you could. And second, do you believe that? Is that I think that, and I agree, is that we are looking at the problem up in the middle, and our buddy Panther Nasty was talking about this, is that Greg Hardy, when you were mentioning that he has not been able to contribute to run, part of it has been the rotation and him being able to move inside and mix things up, and then that's allowed an additional defensive tackle kind of in the mix, or an opportunity. Do you think that has something to do with the decline, or what is going on with Star Latule?
I wish I knew. There was talk last year of him being a potential Rookie of the Year candidate because of how good of a season he was having. And this year, he's not the player he was last year. I don't know if he's injured, if he's got something going on in his personal life, but he is definitely not playing with the same passion and the same fire that he had last year. And it's hurting us. It is certainly hurting us. When it comes to personnel, I think some of the personnel we have is not going to help us. But then I think some of the personnel that we have that can help us is hurt.
How is Roman Harper going to help us?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. He's got a few interceptions, but those were more like Johnny on the spot interceptions versus him making some tremendous play.
Thinking of signing Thomas Deku, laughing my butt off. Dude is garbage.
What?
Hashtag garbage, my bad. Thomas Deku and Roman Harper suck. You're welcome. Sincerely, a Falcons fan.
I mean, tell me.
I don't know what the Panthers.
Sorry, I didn't mean to play it a third time. But how are those guys, Jason? You said we have the personnel, and I'm going to move this over to you on that. Where are they? Where is the personnel on the defense that can get this done? Because is this just simple execution and us making a offsides? I feel like every week we're saying, well, if it wasn't a 3rd and 8 that went to a 3rd and 12 that went to a 3rd and 8 and then a 3rd and 3, if it wasn't that one play, how is this personnel good enough, Jason?
Well, I guess to back up, I don't think it's ever one play. You can look at half a dozen plays in any game and say if this would have happened differently, then the outcome would have been something else. And I think that's kind of what you saw last week, is maybe those 3 or 4 plays that we were able to recover from, like for instance the Bengals. You saw a lot of those types of mistakes. Green Bay is not only going to take advantage of them, but they are going to magnify them and make you pay in triplicate. So when you start talking about those types of errors, you're talking about a mental error. You're not talking about something that the player just isn't capable of doing something, or they're out of position because they just don't get it, etc. It's a mental error, and it's something that you should be able to correct. And we talked about this on our podcast. It's going to be released a little bit later on. The one thing that is very frustrating to me, and I'm getting extremely sick of hearing as far as Ron Rivera goes in his press conferences, is talk about the discipline, talking about players are not doing their job. And we heard that the first couple of years, and of course that took a vacation last year, but you keep hearing it, and you keep hearing it. And you got to wonder, is that part going to get fixed? And that's the one part that concerns me. But to go back to your question, is the personnel good enough? I mean, this is the same team that got after a good Lions team, got after a good Bears team. I mean, the talent is there. It's just a matter of them putting it all together. And if they're going to do it or not, who knows? But I think the talent is there if they work together and trust each other and do their job.
I typically like Ron Rivera. The reason I say that is because I'm the opposite of Ron Rivera, and that I'm very emotional and responsive. Obviously, that you can see from this even keel mentality is calming to me, and sometimes. But I 100% agree with you that I understand that Ron Rivera is frustrated. I understand that people have missed assignments and played poorly. But this whole crap of we'll get it corrected. Well, it's execution. Well, we have to get that corrected. Like, what the hell are they going to do when they go into that meeting room and they tell Roman Harper, just tackle that bitch?
My God,
I
I
mean,
know.
excuse my language. I am so furious tonight. I'm like the maddest I've ever been in the last 2 years. And it wasn't because of this Panthers game. It's all of this that's coming down on me. But like, what do you have to teach Roman Harper about tackling and execution? Just do it.
Really, for him, it was simple. He's got the sideline right there. Okay, that acts as an extra defender. All you have to do is break down before you get to Jordy Nelson.
But
And he was
you know what?
flying out of control.
You know what, guys? Roman Harper's not going to save the season, just like Quentin Michael did not save the season last year. The difference is going to be the pressure up the middle. If Starr and KK don't turn it around, this season's done. That's the fact.
All right, we got a guest coming on in just about 1 minute, but I want to play this one thing right here for you guys, and this essentially what I have to say, because Ron Rivera really made me mad when he was talking about the offensive line.
But there were some really good things. You know, offensive line, you know, there were some really good things that went on.
Really? Like what? One damn play. That was it. Is that they got annihilated. And yes, I just want to say that I think that Dave Gettleman has to take a lot of blame here for this product. The idea that you're going to put an offensive line out there that is going to compete in the NFL at a high level with no fucking draft picks other than Khalil at center, all undrafted, one dude on the defense. I just feel that that's too much to ask. Rookies, a dude that has barely played. I think that is way too much to ask, and I think they 100% underestimated how problematic that could be. And that's tough when your defense isn't playing well. None of the things that they wanted to happen have happened so far. So, Joey,
I agree.
why don't you comment on that?
I think he does have to share some of the blame. I think, you know, it's a bit short-sighted on his mind. You know, his short-sightedness has to take some of the blame. Who else has offensive tackles that are undrafted? You know, maybe one, maybe a backup, but your starters and you're counting on them. It's just this piecemeal secondary. Yes, it worked last year. It did, but you know, the pressure's not there this year, so it's being exposed as a weakness. And we're so late into the season. There's really not a whole lot we can do to make any improvements in it. You know, hopefully we'll get healthy. We'll have Josh Norman come back, and you know, he'll be able to provide some assistance there. They cut Godfrey today. That's a big deal. You know, Charles Godfrey was with the team 7 years. So that's a big deal, Godfrey going. I definitely think Gettleman has to have some of the blame put on him.
Okay. All right. This is the C3 podcast. You can catch it every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. for better or for worse. We had a rough start tonight, this evening, but we have somebody to uplift us, or actually probably lay the
Depress
smack down
us.
on us tonight. Yeah, depress us. We have a guest from sportsquotient.com, correct, Anthony?
Yeah,
All right.
sportsquotient.com.
Excellent, Anthony. Thank you for coming on and kind of giving us an inside peek into the Seattle Seahawks. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Sports Quotient, and tell everybody how they can get after you.
Yeah, so I write for the Sports Quotient. It's largely college-based writers. I cover the Seahawks for them. I'm one of a few reporters they have for the Seahawks, and I also write weekly column for them as well. Usually covering stuff about the Seahawks that's kind of bigger issues that are more than just quick hitting news. But yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you guys are coming off a tough loss coming here to Carolina. You've had a rough stretch. You've had I would say some highlight, national focus to you in not just the glowing manner. How do you guys feel coming into Carolina?
Well, I mean, obviously we've had a lot happen to us in the last couple of weeks. I was into Dallas in a game that we were pretty much straight up outplayed. Then the Percy Harvin trade that kind of rocked a lot of Seahawks fans' worlds, and then kind of the fallout after that we all learned about all the insight, and then we outplayed them. So it's been a rough couple of weeks, to be honest, but honestly, I feel like Seattle's actually trending upwards now. This last game against the Rams, we came out really flat at the start. I think that that we were kind of shocked, kind of were lulled to sleep, thought we could roll over this team. Kind of didn't know what to do without Percy Harvin, but that second half we absolutely dominated, and really the reason we lost to the Rams was special teams, and I feel that's a very correctable part of the game. And so I think the Seahawks are actually trending upwards now and are going to start to find their identity. I kind of thought that Percy Harvin was almost on the field as well. He was a distraction. We tried to get him really involved. He was almost too much for Darrell Bevell to wrap his mind around when designing plays, and it actually hampered our offense. So, yeah.
I think that helps you coming into Carolina because, like you said, is that last 3-game stretch.
Tony, your volume's going in and out again. We didn't hear most of that question.
All right, I guess, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my God, I'm going to kill myself. The point, I guess, was, do you think that is a good thing or a helpful thing coming into Carolina in the fact that you are a bit lulled to sleep, St. Louis Rams, and because the Carolina Panthers have been struggling?
You know, I think it's good that we're facing adversity this early in the season. We've also seen a lot of the strategies that are beating us on defense. It's a lot of short passing game underneath. And we've also seen that we aren't infallible. We can easily lose games to teams that we should be just dominating because we have a lot of talent. But so I think that it's good to see those games early. There's two directions the Seahawks can go from here. They could either start rolling over and looking really bad, or they could come back and throw up some dominating performances and really find their identity again. I think that in the second half of the Rams game, we really saw Seattle get back to their identity of being able to run the football, really use that to throw the ball downfield by using play action off of Marshawn Lynch running the ball. The defense looked better in the second half. They only gave up 7 points. So I think that they've kind of figured out kind of the mental side a little bit of coming off the Super Bowl win and having to deal with a lot of stuff. I don't think that they believed that they were going to fall under that, but they did. And but it looks like they're kind of figuring things out now.
Well, hey man, I'm curious. All these reports came out about Percy Harvin being a cancer and fighting with his teammates, and we've gone through something similar here with Steve Smith, last year, and then being jettisoned out to Baltimore. Did you guys see this coming? Were there reports prevalent about him having fights with Russell Wilson and all these other things that they're now saying? Was that something that was common knowledge, or is that all new as this news broke?
From sources that I know, I had heard at the beginning of the season that Percy Harvin really wasn't clicking with the wide receiving group, and that was kind of causing a rift between them. It kind of all started in the Super Bowl when the media made a huge deal out of Percy Harvin coming back and what kind of impact he was going to make. And the receiving core of guys like Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, Golden Tate were like, what about us?
Mm-hmm.
We've been the guys playing the whole season. We got us here. And now you're going to go and make a big deal out of somebody who wasn't here with us. And so that his injury and build up to the Super Bowl and stuff kind of naturally caused that rift. And maybe if that hadn't happened, things would have been better. But Percy does have a reputation of being a very
volatile,
tough to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
well, hey, your quarterback went to the greatest university in the state of North Carolina. So.
Oh, he went to ECU? I didn't know that.
So you got that going for you.
All right.
A little bit of rivalry going on here.
Speaking of quarterback, Anthony, if I'm not mistaken, Russell Wilson was the first quarterback this past week to rush for 100 yards and throw for 300 yards in a game. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. The offense really started slow in that first half, and so most of what happened was in the second half. He had a big run that helped him get to 100 yards. He had a 52-yard run down the sidelines at some point in the second half, I believe. And passing the ball, though, they without Percy Harvin, they basically changed their passing philosophy and started putting the ball downfield more, and it really showed in how good Russell Wilson is when you allow him to throw the ball downfield and kind of take the training wheels off that were Percy Harvin. I mean, he was really hampering this offense's ability to pass the ball downfield because they were so caught up in trying to use him as a playmaker and give him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and it really was limiting our offense.
Okay, that's great for Russell Wilson. I like the kid. He's super talented. He's got a real good head on his shoulders. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback for many years. Last year, the Panthers opened their season at home against Seattle. What a great game that was. That was a fantastic football game. And the Panthers, I think, gave the game away there at the end with the D'Angelo Williams fumble. It's tough to say they would have won, but, it definitely would have made it harder for Seattle to win the game. This year, not so much. This year, the Panthers are sort of trending downward as the Seahawks are coming to town. If Carolina is to beat the Saints, the Seahawks, what area of Seattle, the team is Carolina going to have to attack to be able to have a shot at this?
And we are going to send this recording to Ron Rivera. So.
It's all right. He'll only use it for one play.
Right, that's it.
That's true. That's true.
So
what is the vulnerability? What do you think the vulnerabilities are?
So basically, I think the biggest vulnerability that the Seahawks have had this year so far has been our pass rush. We've had almost no pressure on the quarterback. I can't recall the last time we had a sack while watching a game. It's been, I think, a couple weeks.
Which means you'll probably get this week.
Pretty much.
Possibly. Hopefully they're making adjustments to fix that issue. But a big part of that problem has been the opposing passing philosophies of other teams. They've done a lot of short passing games to kind of take our secondary out of games. But as a byproduct, it's also taken our defensive line out of games because they block quick three-step drops balls out. And so they haven't been able to get to the quarterback. And then the times that they do, it just doesn't seem like they're finishing. In the game against Dallas a couple weeks ago, Bruce Irvin had 2 opportunities to sack Tony Romo on their final drive when he hit Terrence Williams on that nice toe-tapping catch on the sidelines, and they just aren't making it happen. So So the hope is that it's going to start to happen, that they're going to start to get home. Maybe they have to bring a little bit more pressure. We'll see. But they have to do something to disrupt that short passing game, or else they really don't have a chance to get anybody home.
You know what I'm looking forward to is the battle between Sherman and Benjamin. I think that's going to be a physical battle right on the offensive line. Is he's trying to get out into his route. Is Sherman going to press him? Right? I think that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think Sherman will press him a lot. When we play, we typically play a cover 3 with our corners up at the line of scrimmage pressing, and I do think Sherman might very well follow him around the field, because I don't know if you guys have been seeing the Seahawks depth lately, but the cornerback position is completely depleted. We have Byron Maxwell, who's out with a calf strain right now.
Oh, didn't know that.
Lane, who's on the IR until week 10 with a groin injury. We have Harold Simon, who was to be very similar to kind of a mix between Sherman and Browner. Obviously still has to build a lot of his talent, but he just had a couple injuries in the last week's game, so he won't be healthy to go. So we're going to have Marcus Burley, a 7th-rounder we picked up from Indianapolis, playing opposite Sherman on the other side. And he's a smaller guy, so he's a little smaller than Sherman, so you probably won't see him manned up on Kelvin Benjamin much.
So, Anthony, I'm curious. You mentioned so many things that you were talking about the Seahawks. It sounds very familiar to us as far as the pass rush is concerned, teams using the short game. I think there are a lot of parallels between the Seahawks and the Panthers this year. Talking about your cornerbacks, you mentioned the short passing game. Do you feel like this may be the game, with considering Carolina's receiving core, where you see a lot of quick slants out of Kelvin Benjamin, you see a lot of quick slants out of Cotry and Avant? Do you think that's a possibility that they can attack? Because that is, if Sherman has one, well, I won't call it a weakness, but one area that he's not as strong against, it's that, when he drives against that slant, and then that leaves him open to, the slant and go afterwards. Do you think that's something that might happen, or you think it's going to be more intermediate post type stuff?
A lot of the issues we've had playing this year is against tight ends and backs coming out of the backfield. A lot of stuff where backs are just swinging, linebackers are flying up and aren't able to wrap up, or aren't able to break down and even get into position to wrap up, really. So the tight ends and running backs have really been hurting us. And then also the wide receivers running routes like pivot routes where they're coming in and then going back out. A lot of those double moves have really been what's getting Sherman. So you might see a couple pivot routes maybe this week from that offense, because that's been the route I've noticed that's gotten Sherman the most so far this year.
When I look at this game, fellas, is that what I see is a team, Seattle Seahawks, that has a championship mentality to them. And I know what is a championship mentality is they have a belief that they can do that at that level. I thought that was something that the Carolina Panthers had acquired close last season when we made the playoffs and we had such a strong run.
Lost it somewhere.
I think with this game, but I don't like the word swagger, because swagger just means like you're a shit ass, like thinking you're cooler than you are. But I'm talking about a true belief, a confidence in your ability. And what I worry about with the Carolina Panthers is that game in Green Bay was so demoralizing that it maybe dampened that spirit, while with the St. Louis Rams loss, like you said, is that they dominated and you had this moment where it just kind of shook out a bad way. It's not like Russell Wilson is crying at home right now over that. And just to note, Russell Wilson, Joey, broke Cam Newton's record of 100 yards rushing, I believe, and 200 yards passing. Quarterback that had done that. What did you say the numbers were again, Joe?
300. He was the first running back to throw for 300. I'm sorry, quarterback to throw for 300 and run for 100.
Yeah, I think Cam was either 250 or 200 before that. So do you think, and I'll open this to you, Anthony, is do you think that mentally the Seahawks are in a position where they are confident enough to where it doesn't matter what's going on with Carolina, how good they play, that they're going to be refocused by that Rams loss?
You know, I'm hoping that Seattle comes out with a different defensive strategy because if Carolina's smart, they'll attack them with the short passing game early and see if that they can get that going on them. And because the short passing game is actually acting almost as a run game, it's forcing linebackers to stay shallow so you can get deeper routes working as well. So hopefully that Seattle can kind of change their defensive strategy so they can fix that problem. That would be the only thing I really see holding this, Seattle back from really going out there and really performing well. They played extremely well last week, aside from special teams, which is completely correctable. They sound pretty much everybody interviewed sounded very confident that they found their identity again, and so I think we're going to see a really good performance out of them this week. There's a buzz that we haven't really seen since probably week 1 against the Green Bay Packers when they handed them a pretty good victory. So I think that they kind of got blown back and shocked a little bit, but I think they're figuring things out again.
Jason, I want to turn this over to you and ask you a question about, with Marshawn Lynch coming here, how is our defense that has not been able to stop a run? How do they adjust to the beast mode? I mean, not only do they have to try to stop a running back, but they got to stop a guy that refuses to be stopped. He's so stubborn, he won't fall down.
It's definitely going to be a load tackling him, and I think for the Panthers at least, if you look at sort of their modus operandi for the past couple weeks, generally speaking, outside of this dumpster fire that, as you put it, we had this week, really what you saw them play, these running teams pretty close, pretty tight, but then they have that one play, they have that one lapse where somebody doesn't do their job, somebody gets shoved out of the hole. Somebody doesn't set the edge like they're supposed to. And unfortunately, when you're playing a team like Seattle and Marshawn Lynch, that's all it takes is that one play. So we're going to have to see a lot more of the Panthers defense that played against the Bears and the Lions and limited those guys than what we saw last week in against Bernard and that sort of situation. So I think that is a challenge. But I will say, the one thing I was tremendously worried about going in this week that has sort of been relieved is, Percy Harvin. As you mentioned, Charles Godfrey hadn't exactly been setting the world on fire, and that's exactly the kind of player that would just absolutely destroy him, a Randall Cobb type weapon that, you move all over the field, you don't know who's going to be in the slot, and that has been somewhat negated, so I feel a little better about that part. So I'm hoping that defense won't feel so stretched that they'll have to, feel like they have to be in two places at once and basically, not anywhere where they're supposed to be. So that's my great hope. We'll see. I think, as I said, this is going to be a real pivot point for this Panthers team. They're either going to, you're going to see the start of something really good, or you're going to see maybe, start of something that we don't want to see.
Well, hey, Anthony, I want to ask you one last question. I know you got to run, and I want to give you a chance to plug yourself again, tell people where they can follow you on Twitter, that type of thing. But if I'm in your shoes and I'm coming into Enemy of the Week's territory show, I would like the opportunity to tell the audience, how I feel about the prospects for my team for the rest of the season, not just this week against Carolina. But tell me how you feel about Seattle for the rest of the year, and then I'd like to hear you bash on the 49ers just a little bit. You had to have fun watching them get beat up this past week. So talk about that for a minute, and then tell folks where they can catch you on Twitter, and we appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, sounds good. So Seahawks, obviously, they've got a tough road ahead of them. They've got one of the toughest schedules left in the NFL. They play in one of the toughest divisions. So it's going to be hard for them to make the playoffs still, but I think it's a completely feasible thing. The Cardinals are sitting at 5-1 right now, but to be completely honest, I think they're going to get handed some losses coming up as they play some tougher opponents. I just don't see their quarterback play really being good enough to hold up over a full season as it hasn't been in the past. They finished last year really strong. They're probably one of the most talented and deep rosters right now in the NFC West, with Seattle and San Francisco losing a lot of their young talent to other teams as they had to decide who they were wanting to pay. But I don't see the Cardinals that they have been over a full.
They've done that before, where they've started out 5-0.
So I think that leaves. Yeah, exactly, and it's very possible. Maybe they do well and at a high level, but I just don't know if they have the pieces on offense to really keep that going. I know they have Andre Ellington, who's been performing really well this year, but if teams start to shut him down, it kind of where are they going to go from there? So the Seahawks really have to obviously turn things around, which it looks like they're going to. It looks like they're going to start to step up. It looks like they're running Marshawn Lynch more. He almost had just under 20 carries, I believe, in this past game, which usually he has. If he has more than that, the Seahawks win. So look to see him get some more carries. I do think that the Seahawks are going to end up in the playoffs this year because they have a lot of talent. What's really holding them back right now are injuries, and as they get guys back, they're going to perform at a higher level. And I also think that actually seeing what's beating us right now on defense, it's kind of like stress testing something. It allows you to see what needs work, and as long as you don't break, you're going to be good and actually stronger for it. So I think Seattle probably wins 10 or 11 games this year. And makes the playoffs. As far as the 49ers go, they got absolutely demolished by the Broncos this past week.
God, it was a beatdown.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton Manning threw as many touchdowns as he did incompletions. It was that bad.
Yeah.
But as much as I'd love to bash on them, I do think they're going to find their way into the playoffs too. It's a pretty talented team.
They are.
Yeah.
Despite their underperforming, they've had a ton of injuries as well this year. So as both teams get healthy, look for them to start making their runs at the playoffs. And as they play in division, look for the Cardinals to maybe slow down a little bit. So yeah. And then as far as where people can follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Anthony Nipert. Good luck spelling that. And then I write a weekly column for the Sports Quotient, and it's a pretty cool place over there, so you should check their website out. We have a lot of different stuff as far as statistics to columns to viral videos, just stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. And I just really appreciate you guys for having me on. And
Anthony, one last thing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get a score from you for this game.
Ooh.
And don't worry, you won't hurt our feelings. They can't get any more hurt than they were against the Packers. So.
True.
I want to say that Seattle puts up 24 points and maybe gives up 17 or 20. So I think it'll be a close game. I think Seattle still has to work out some of their issues, but I do actually think Cam Newton might get to Seattle's defense a little bit and be able to perform there.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a real pleasure having you. And if we decide to do a NFC playoff special, we'd like to have you back on, okay?
And if
Awesome.
the Panthers play the Seahawks, be back on, man.
Oh, definitely.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Cool.
All
Thanks
right,
again.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
Well, Guys, there is no way we're making the playoff. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't go all Jim Moore on us now.
No, right?
If we make the playoffs, oh my gosh! I mean, and I understand that it's a realistic happen. I just wouldn't even want to be in the playoffs.
Oh, come on, Debbie Downer.
Oh man.
I know they've played so horrible, man. I look forward to Cam Newton, like you said, getting his act together back. I mean, I think he's played lights out this season.
We just had an avalanche last week, dude. It got out of hand quick, and we never got it back. Let's see what happens this Sunday against a really good Seattle team.
I wanna bring back up something in the last 2 minutes though, because I think Jason touched on this earlier, and that is how much Ron Rivera has to do. What does this have to do? We've with Ron Rivera. Is this something that goes back to the head coaching? Does some of the responsibility fall on this gentleman? Because what he has done is he started out slow every season, got saved last year by an 8-game winning streak, and I guess the thing that I want to know is that I've seen him not look very confident and cool this go for it on fourth down and
We're losing you again.
and we didn't go for it on fourth down in Cincinnati. And we also, when we won the coin toss, we decided to receive the ball and give the ball to Aaron Rodgers. Jason, do you think that Ron Rivera is being tested as a head coach at this moment?
Oh, I think you're tested every year. I mean, you have different challenges, different adversities. I mean, you mentioned the fourth down call. I think you made the right call there. I'm not going to argue with that at all. I mean, you look at the analytics and the numbers on that. Brian Burke wrote an interesting article about that and said, the numbers agreed. Hey, he shouldn't have gone for it.
In overtime on the road?
What's that?
In overtime on the road?
Absolutely. That's he ran numerous simulations. They all either said it was borderline or slightly favoring.
But we hadn't stopped them one time that game. They had just been destroying us. Our defense had looked like terribleness. Cam Newton just put a football right on Jericho Cotchery's hands, and he didn't catch it. And I know it was a tough catch. I know, but Cam put it right where it needed to be, the only place it could have been. And we have been clicking offensively, and we've been struggling defensively. So is that the right call?
Well, I can only tell you we can look back in hindsight and say, well, it was 50-50 because they tied. But I can only tell you, what somebody like an expert like Brian Burke had to say about it. He said, it was right down the line, and considering that it was a fourth and a long one, it was a defensible call. And at the time, I didn't really have a problem with it, especially considering some of the misfires we'd had. So,
Right.
There's a million things that can happen during a game. And again, I don't think you can look at one thing and say that's why we lost or that's why we won. It's always a string of things. But going back to Ron, I was kind of critical of him and saying, hey, discipline. I actually hadn't had a chance to check the news feed. As I mentioned, I've been kind of busy this evening. But
What, has he been fired?
No. I'm talking about Godfrey. I actually hadn't had a chance to check that out. That's a message, okay? As you said, he's been with that team for a number of years, and that's a message to saying, hey, we will not accept this level of play. We don't care who you are, who you have behind you. If you're going to play like that, you're out, because we can't continue to play undisciplined like we have in the past couple weeks. We have got to get that fixed. That part has to get fixed. And if you get that fixed, you're going to start to see the Panthers that you saw in the first 2 or 3 weeks, where it almost didn't matter who was playing. It was next man up mentality, and whoever the next guy up was, he was going to do his job. And the Panthers defense, as bad as they've looked in spurts, they've also looked just as good. So, and I think this is what happens when you're sort of a mediocre team. You have these really good parts, and you have the really not so good parts that you'd like to forget. So, I think it's easy after a week like this for us to kind of forget about some of the better times this defense has had. And I hope that this wake-up call will remind this Panthers team what they could be and what they should be.
Hey, and I got some breaking news here, guys. It just came through on Twitter. The most pessimistic Panther fan out there, at least it follows me many a times, Clyde, has just come through and predicted that the Panthers are going to win 31-10 and only give up 230 yards.
What?
Clyde, I watch you on Twitter, and that is some bull.
Tell him to put the bong down.
No, man, come on now. We're supposed to build people up here.
Oh, my gosh. I felt like he did that last week where he came in and he told us that it was going to be all right.
Listen.
I picked the damn Panthers to win that game in Lambeau. I think, by the way, we are dogs at home. We are.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I'm
not surprised.
No, and we should be. I'm so worried about this is that if we play anywhere like we played, I'm not talking a little bit I'm talking about if we play like anywhere, like one smidgen where we played against the Ravens, against Packers, and the Steelers, we're going to get blown the hell out. And Marshawn Lynch worries me. This team has not been able to stop the run all season. The only game that we really did it in were the first two games, which were Tampa Bay and then in Detroit. Tampa Bay is a mess. Detroit doesn't really run the ball traditionally as much as we like to give them credit for. So, to me, I'm worried about the beast.
Yeah, me too. I agree. We have not did a very good job of stopping the run versus anybody the last few weeks. And, honestly, our tackling has been atrocious. We've over-pursued. We've been out of position. I mean, any number of things you can point at to why we have not had success stopping the run. And Seattle's goal is to come in and run the ball. That's what they'd like to do. If they could run for 300 yards and win the game, they will.
Well, hey, let's call some folks out. I think it's getting to be that time of night. What you think, Joe?
I think so. We'll go ahead and get to the most favorite part of our podcast, our weekly Ice Up Sun picks. And I believe Tony is working on something now. I know I have someone in mind. Jason, have you ever done an Ice Up Sun pick?
Yes, I did one time before, so I think I'm ready for you.
All right, give it to us.
Fantastic.
I'm going to give the Ice Up Sun, and I could almost give it to him almost every week. Nate Chandler. Nate, bro.
Amen to that.
I mean, no one's really talking about Nate. And those first two drives, I don't know if anyone noticed.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me just tell you 1 second. I got something for you. This will make you feel good.
Bring that ass here, boy, because I swear to God, you was a fucking worst lineman. A lot of my fans talk about Byron Bell. No, Nate Chandler is straight at him.
Resume.
Was that planned? Was that pre-done there?
No, not at all. I've had that sitting all night long waiting to use it. And then Jay started. All right, Jason, tell us why Nate Chandler is straight ass cheeks.
I'm not going to bring it on that level, but if you watch especially those first two drives where the game wasn't quite out of hand, but the defense wasn't necessarily doing the offense any favors, I mean, he almost single-handedly killed both of those drives. And Clay Matthews just, I don't know what he was doing, but if you see Clay Matthews in front of you, block him, okay? I don't care what anybody else is doing. Don't slam down and then leave Clay Matthews free to just basically skull drug your running back. Because, I mean, and he did that not once but twice and got the Panthers way off schedule. And guess what? You can't do that against a good team. You cannot have those mental errors. And, to his credit, he cleaned a lot of that up. But last week, boy, like you said, it was ugly for him.
Yes, it was rough watching him play.
But I don't think Bruce Campbell's answer.
I feel like Nate Chandler has been overpowered a lot this season, whether it be with speed or with just physicality.
Yeah.
I feel like I get him just getting beat up out there.
He was a good guard last year, but he is a terrible tackle.
I agree.
So, Jason, what do you got to tell him?
Nate Chandler. Ice up, son. Ice up, baby.
Nice.
Bring that
Well
ass
done.
here, boy, because I swear to God, you was the fucking worst lineman. A lot of my fans talk about Byron Bell. No, Nate Chandler is straight ass cheeks.
Okay. Joey, who's your Ice Up Son pick of the week?
Well, I have an Ice Up Son pick of the week. I don't know. Well, I'm going to go with this guy. I was going to go with somebody else, but he's no longer a Panther, so I can't really go with him.
So good Godfrey, it is over for him.
So good Godfrey is over.
Is it Steve Smith talking all that shit about the NFC South?
No, it is not. It is and Antoine Cason or whatever. He is
trash.
He's scared. I don't know if he's scared that people are gonna blow by him and he's gonna look like a fool, but he's looking like a fool by what he's doing.
Yeah.
You're playing coverage and you're giving your man 10 to 15 yards of space to work with. No wonder you can't make any stops in any plays, for crying out loud.
Missing Josh Thomas.
It's pathetic. I mean, it really is ridiculous. Cason, you came in from Arizona. You were under Ron Rivera's defensive scheme out there in San Diego, so you had some experience with him. Please show it. Please act like the first-round pick, or play like the first-round pick that you were. Yes, it was late first round, but you were still a first-round pick. We need you, man. And if you can't, ice up, son. Ice up, baby.
All right. Panther drafter, Mel Mayock, jump in there.
Oh, man, I tell you. Hey, there's a lot of places we could go, right? I mean, defensive line, offensive line, but I tell you, I've been tweeting all year, NFL, you need to let each team have their own announcers, just like the NBA does, right? Because you get these jacklegs. I don't cuss. I try not to anyway. You get these jacklegs coming on air, and yes, I know you work at the Madison Square Garden calling Ranger games, but man, when you're at the NFL game calling my Panthers, Sam Rosen, don't call us the Carolina Hurricanes. Have you lost your mind? I mean, come on, man. You gotta get your stuff together. Do your homework, and Sam Rosen, ice up, son.
Amen to that. Nice job, yeah.
All right. My Ice Up Son pick of the week goes to the C3 podcast. And I am 100% serious about that. Is that tonight mirrored the dumpster fire that was Sunday, and I would also like to extend an additional ice up pick to anybody that does that stupid mess. And I'm sorry, I've been foul-mouthed tonight, fellas, and I know that I shouldn't be because I got children. I want to extend my ice up pick to Panther fans that try to flaunt this crap called a true Panther fan. What is a true Panther fan? Is it someone that I don't like this idea that we cannot be critical of decisions made by our organization, by a team that we invest our emotion in, our heart in, our time in, our economy in, is that this is the game of football is for us. So here's the thing, is that Thomas Davis owned up to this mess on the radio today, and he said, look, we receive praise when we do good stuff, so we should receive criticism when we do poorly. So I'm going to say this. I don't like anybody that flaunts that I'm a true this, I'm a true that. I think it's self-propagandizing, and I think that anybody that cries tears for the Carolina Panthers or screams joy fan, whether it be a little bit or a lot. And so, whether it be you're a fan of this crappy ass podcast that was tonight, or that crappy ass team that was on Sunday.
It's not because of our guest though, Tony. Right? I mean, Jason was awesome. Yeah.
No, totally on my end. I'm so mad. I want to fucking break my computer. Ice up, C3 Podcast and True Panther fans. You are all part of it. I mean, man, I'm sorry. I just don't like that. I feel like it's just so.
I hear you.
And truly, I think you are a real fan when you can criticize your team.
But hey, let's play the devil's advocate here. I don't like folks that go on at the first sign of mess. They start to fire Ron Rivera, fire get them.
Right.
I don't like.
I agree.
Did I take down my billboard?
I suck, son.
It was a joke. All right, that is the C3 Podcast. This is CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can call us true fans of Carolina Panthers or not. It doesn't matter. We spend a ridiculous amount of time following this team for $0 and just for fun. So I would like to put out this. Check us out. We will love the Panthers together. We will cry together, cheer together, we cheer together. Good, Jason. I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. Could you tell everybody how to follow you and check out your podcast, which I'm sure is far more serious than tonight?
Oh man, everyone has a day. I had one like that the other day myself. So you get knocked down, you get up, and you smack life in the face. That's how you do
it. Like in Green Bay. Was it in Lambeau? Sorry.
But hey, thanks for having me on. I've had a great time. Like you said, it's all about the love and all about the Panther Nation and laughing and crying together and pointing at the other team and screaming how terrible they are. But you can find us over at CarolinaProFootball.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Just check out the right-hand side of the page there. Subscribe to the podcast. It's all there. So I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always a good time to come on.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Joe and Mel, you close it out.
All right. I am Joe Rilano, also known as the Freaking Puerto Rican. It's been a good show. I feel much better after the show than I did coming into the show. I don't know that we're going to be any better, but we can't be much worse. So there's something to say for that. Panther Nation, more than anything, despite whatever the team does and how you feel about it, keep pounding.
There you go. I love it. All right. Well, hey, this team has been Jekyll and Hyde. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've looked really good. We've looked really bad. I'm hopeful that you bring some talent back into the secondary. Sticky Wicky, Josh Norman. Maybe we can turn some things around, right? And so, we're a team of momentum. If Seattle comes out and scores early, we're in trouble. But we get some momentum going, we're going to win. And Tony, you may feel like this has been a dumpster fire here tonight, but one good thing has come out of this. Well, not necessarily too good, but a nice innocent follower that we have on Twitter that goes by the name of Susan has actually made it a goal tomorrow to use straight ass cheeks in a sentence based on what she learned tonight. All right? So all is not lost. All right.
God, you was a fucking worst lineman. A lot of my fans talk about Byron Bell. No, Nate Chandler is straight ass cheeks.
All right.
Love it.
I'm going to call it a night, fellas.
All right.
All right. Good night, guys. Great job.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, guys.